This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, May 13th, 2021. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The House Republican Conference has ousted Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney as its chair by voice vote after she upset fellow members of her party by continuing to criticize former President Donald Trump. Seth MacLachlan reports Cheney is doubling down on her criticism, vowing to wage a public relations war against the former president and loosen his grip on the party. Cheney is one of a few Republicans to point out Trump's incitements and rhetoric before the January 6th insurrection by his supporters on the U.S. Capitol and support a bipartisan commission to investigate the riot. Cheney's likely successor to the third highest position in House Republican leadership is New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who has the support of Trump and other Republicans. On the economy, the Labor Department reports consumer prices for goods and services rose 0.8% in April, the largest monthly jump in more than a decade. Dave Boyer reports the Consumer Price Index rose 4.2% for the past 12 months, the biggest year-over-year increase since 2008. Stocks plummeted on the inflation report, with the three major U.S. markets each losing at least 2% of their value. It's been a rocky week on Wall Street, with the tech-heavy NASDAQ index down more than 5%, the S&P 500 posting its biggest loss since February, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average seeing its worst day since January. Those inflation fears were compounded across the South by gasoline shortages due to panic buying after the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack. In North Carolina, 2/3 of gas stations ran out of gas on Wednesday, and at least 40% of the gas stations in Virginia and Georgia were empty, according to GasBuddy. Colonial announced the pipeline is back up and running, though the company warned it'll take several days for the product delivery supply chain to return to normal. Escalating Israeli-Palestinian violence is threatening to undermine historic progress made over the last few years and drive a new wedge between Israel and the Arab world. Ben Wolfgang reports the bloodshed in Gaza, where dozens have died during clashes between the Hamas militant group and Israeli military, brings with it geopolitical ramifications around the world, including in Washington. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and other officials have expressed strong U.S. backing for Israel's right to defend itself. The crisis is showing signs of spreading as Israeli officials blame their Arab counterparts across the region for not doing enough to help quell anti-Israel protests in mixed communities across the country, including in Jerusalem. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. Don't have access to the Times yet? Visit WashingtonTimes.com/George and get 25% off your annual subscription. On immigration, Border Patrol agents in some of the hardest-hit areas of the migrant surge are spending most of their time processing and taking care of illegal immigrants, according to law enforcement officials who spoke with our Stephen Dinan. He reports at one station in Del Rio, Texas, 56% of agents' time is spent not in the field but in processing or taking care of illegal immigrants. Those are usually juveniles who are traveling alone or parents and children together, all of whom require special care. Agents have also been pressed into picking up trash rather than patrolling the border. Piles of garbage from illegal crossings have accumulated along the U.S. banks of the Rio Grande, and agents, troops from the National Guard, and contractors were sent to clean it up. And finally, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders wants to provide free meals to all children in schools, as the federal government has been doing during the COVID-19 pandemic, regardless of how rich or poor the child's parents are. Carrie Murakami reports Sanders' office couldn't say how much the proposal would cost, but offering free breakfast and lunch to the more than 56 million K-12 students in the United States would be a departure from the program's original goal to make sure less fortunate children don't go to class hungry. The federal government spent $18.7 billion on school meals in 2019, the last full year before the pandemic. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and subscribe for free to the front page. Just search Washington Times on your favorite podcast platforms. You can also listen to the Front Page podcast on Amazon Alexa connected devices. Just say, "Alexa, play the Front Page podcast." And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.